Hello everybody and welcome to a new season of KSP POV where we play Kerbal Space Program in first person. I'm really excited to start this new season because this will be the first time that we've had a POV series on my new hardware with much better performance, much better graphics, and I'll be able to utilize real-time responses to this in this series because I'm going to forego the voiceover after the fact that is pretty common with all my other episodes. Starting to see the skybox we got here. I'm getting distracted. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started into the next series of our channel, KSP POV Season 4. And we'll go ahead and get started. I want to change one setting here. That is always allow action groups because that is crucial for our keeping in IVA only mode. We are going to turn on, I've changed a lot of these contracts, on the contract configurator. A lot of them are stock and it ends up kind of cluttering up our mission. We are not going to do rescue and recovery because we are using TAC life support, and long story short, it makes it very difficult to rescue the Kerbals when they end up dying of oxygen deprivation before you can even rendezvous. So there is that. We're also playing with Dang It. This is parts failures mod, and it's going to be challenging. It's going to give us a reason to include engineers on our craft. It's going to force us to take into consideration part failures, but it integrates really well in certain IVAs that we use, so we're going to have that. Danger alerts. Just lets us know when something's in the problem. Crash, we are adjustment. This is the simulation mod that allows us to simulate our missions, and this is going to be integral into our channel membership because all of our simulations will be posted in our channel. So if that is something you're interested in, I can explain a little bit more later, but if that's something you're interested in, check out the join button below each video. Through the Eyes of the Kerbal is kind of our IVA mode. Here's our TAC life support. We're keeping it stock. We're not changing any of the things. When the resources run out, Kerbals die. So we're going to try to keep them aboard. We are not using remote tech like we have in some of our previous series, our currently ongoing series of KXP, but that doesn't mean that we won't have to focus on building a satellite. And for our flag, we are going to choose the foil flag from my mod that is on CCAN that is called Minimalist Kerbal, or Minimalist Flags, Minimalist Flags for every Kerbal body. And as the title proclaims, it's just these kind of minimalist designs for all the different celestial bodies in the Kerbal system. All of the mods that I'm using for the series can be found in the description below and will be linked through a Google document through every video. So if you're interested in what mods I'm using, go ahead and check that out. However, if you want to use that as a guide to create your own system, please note that modding is at your own risk, of course. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so here we are back at the KSC as per usual. A little difference between some of the recent series I've been doing is we are no longer using research bodies. I had observatory right here, which means that we can see all the celestial bodies in the Kerbal system. We don't have to research them. We can go to them whenever we'd like to. So that is going to be a change. We still are using Strategia. I've actually been really enjoying this mod. I think it brings a use to this building that was missing. There we go. There's all the mods that I need. So the first mission that we're going to do is this gather scientific data from Kerbal, because it doesn't require us to launch any vessel. This do some science does require us to launch a vessel into the air, and the launch first vessel, well, obviously launch first vessel. So we are just going to grab this one for now. And the bulk of today's episode is actually going to be about gathering science before we actually launch our vessel. We are playing with Unkerbaled Start, which rearranges the tech tree, as you can see, is quite huge. In a way, even different than community tech tree. The community tech tree mod changes it around, and so it becomes a lot more brutal when you have to go this far up the tech tree in order to get anything remotely resembling orbital rockets. You don't even get the Terrier until you spend 90 plus 45 plus 18 plus 5, all that science just to get an orbital engine. So it's going to be a lot harder, a lot more challenging than stock KSP going forward. So we are going to grind out some science in this episode, kind of skip past what we did in episode 3 and 4 of the previous season, and just kind of bang it out all at once. So by the end of today's episode, we shall have launched a plane, and we will be on our way towards launching our first rocket. So we don't have any science yet, so let's get out of here. We do have our mission, so let's go ahead and build something that will handle that. I'm very excited to start this series, especially the way that I'm going to be doing it is recording my voiceover in real time, because that allows me to actually focus on what I am looking at in the moment, as opposed to having to interpret it after the fact with my voiceover. And I can tell you the name of whatever part that I'm trying to use. So we start off with a Probodobodine State Putnik. We're going to actually tack on this external command seat IVA. This is a separated mod. This is not the standard command seat, but we're going to tack that on there, and we are going to tack on our only science experiment, the thermometer. And that's all we need for now. We're going to set up our action group, just put the thermometer, put the thermometer on its action group. We're also going to put a crew report on that action group, and then call it a day. Let's get Bob Kerman in the seat. He's our scientist, and so he is going to be the star of today's episode as we go through, and we are going to bring this to each one of these launch sites and each one of the other things, and kind of build up our science stores until we can start making ourselves a rover, which will allow us to do the contracts to collect the science around the KSC. And that way we can not only build up our science, but our money and reputation as well. I've got a whole system on this, so this is a good way of, if you're using Unkerbal Start and Strategia, this will be kind of a good video to show you how to maximize your first couple days in the program. But anyways, this is all we need for now. Let's go ahead and we're going to launch this. Let's bring it to the desert airfield first, because I feel like that's the prettiest. And I'll walk you through the process of what I'm going to do, and then we're just going to go ahead and do it. You know what? No. We're going to do the runway. We'll do the runway because after this first launch, we'll be able to get a lot more science. So, you know what? Never mind. We'll do it at the launch pad. That's even better, because we'll end up collecting the remaining science at some point anyways. So here we are on the launch pad with our cute looking probe and our empty looking command seat. However, Jeb, how'd you sneak aboard? It's supposed to be Bob's mission. Whatever, you can handle a simple thermometer, I think. So here we are in the IVA mode that the ECS IVA mod includes. This actually brings an IBA to the seat, where in the stock Kerbal it does not have that. It's overly complicated for what Jeb needs. All he needs to do is press this button, press that button, and then we get a temperature scan from the launch pad and a crew report from that. And let's go ahead and hop out of the seat. Go ahead and click in our neck. Grab ourselves an EVA report. There we go. We have successfully completed our mission. Bob's mission. Oh, hello. Yeah, Through the Eyes of the Kerbal has a little bit of a bug going on with it, if you may. We have our very own doppelganger. They're a fun bunch. They have no face, so it's a little unsettling at times, and they definitely jump scare me. I'm not gonna lie about that. But, there we go. Let's climb aboard. And board. Board? Oh, whoops, we need to board our experiments. There we go. And that is how we will do our experiments. Bob will have extra experiments to do because we are going to have more science than science experiments, because we're about to spend our science and unlock new stuff to further our science gain. I'll show you that in a second, and then we're just going to kind of cruise through the rest of it and move on to the next stage of the first day. So all of that gave us 13.3 science, as well as completed a contract, which gave us about 20,000 funds, give or take. There we go. So we will hold off on looking at our missions. Let's go ahead and jump into research and development, unlock some science, and see what we can get from here. So first and foremost, we want Engineering 101 because it comes with the onboard camera and the press mat barometer. It also comes with early decouplers if you use the universal storage mod, as well as a small satellite. However, it's the 2 bits of science that will give us even more science, which will make unlocking stuff a lot easier. So we're going to go ahead and get that. And secondly, most importantly, we are going to get aeronautics, which allows us to have a cockpit and wheels, and more importantly than the cockpit are the wheels. The wheels allows us to build a rover, which now we can do that contract. Let's also grab some wing stuff. Now we can do that contract that requires us to do science experiments around the KSC, and that will further increase our funds and our reputation and our science. All 3 of the big ones, but kind of more importantly, the reputation. You'll see why soon enough. But let's go ahead and build our first rover. We are going to need a rover that can make it from the administration, the runway, the spaceplane hangar, and a little spot on the KSC. And it's just going to do thermometer scans for all of that. So let's go ahead and grab that. Alright, so to build our rover, first thing I'm going to want to do is start off with a base. And that base is going to sit our command pod. For some reason, it won't let us make that the root of our craft, probably because it needs to be connected to something, but regardless, that is how we're going to do it. We're going to make a very small, whoops, not action groups, I meant to do move tool. We're going to make a very small craft that will be able to just manipulate its way around the KSC very simply, and we'll build bigger eventually. So this is going to be a 3-wheeled craft. It's going to be very squat because I don't want it flipping over. That looks about even. Alright. And since we don't have access to any kind of engine except for a solid fuel booster, a biplane engine, and then this Juno jet engine, so we're going to use that to maneuver around, but it's going to need small circular intake. Of course. Can that work? I don't know if that can work. Well, time to simulate. Well, let's get our science experiments on first. We'll simulate after. Oh, and make sure to change the IVA to the plain low-tech for that one, because I think it's a little easier to work with. Okay, so first off, we know we need to do 4 temperature scans. So let's just get those thermometers on there first, and then we'll focus on figuring out which one goes where next. So now when we remove them from symmetry, that makes each one of these thermometer each uniquely their own, which matters when you put them on action groups. So let's go ahead and just put 1 here, 2 there, 3 here, and 4 on the last one. And then 5 we are going to use to shut down the engine, specifically shut down. We could have it as toggle, but sometimes you can easily forget which one you do. We're going to call this KSC Rover 1. We're going to save that. Okay, so some minor adjustments there. Alright, so we want to discover our journey. So we have administration, runway, spaceplane hangar, and KSC. I think this is going to be pretty easy. Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty easy. Alright, so we are going to type in AG1. That allows us to title our action groups. In one of the mods that we use, I'm not sure. I think it's the ASET props. But anyways, AG1, and we are going to make that the runway, because that's where we're going to start off. Then AG2, let's go ahead and make that the spaceplane hangar. AG3 will be the KSC. And AG4 will be our admin building. There we go. So now we have all our action groups labeled, so we'll be able to see exactly which one we're clicking. We have each of our experiments on their own action groups, and the course is labeled, so we'll know which place to go first. It's very light craft, and let's make sure we get the right Kerbal in the seat this time. Bob, you are our scientist. So let's go ahead and do a simulation of this, and then we'll see whether or not we can give it the go-ahead or if it needs modifications. Once again, we are newly affiliated with YouTube, and we have a channel membership option where we will be showcasing all of our test flights and test missions and a lot of early access stuff. And if seeing how the tests go, which ultimately decides how our designs end up, a lot more footage to be had there if that is something that you're interested in. And if that is, feel free to check it out. But anyways, I will see you when we're done. Well, that worked basically perfectly. The small circular intake was able to deliver oxygen to our engine, so we were able to move. We had full... I didn't test every single one, but we did test the first action group and confirmed that we had control. I did notice... I did forget to label the last part of the action group, but for some reason it bugged out and did not keep our descriptions, because I'm pretty sure we just did that. And what we forgot to label last time was engine kill. Yeah, engine kill. That's what we forgot to label last time, and it's a very important action group. There we go. Because the engine can continue to produce thrust while it's running, and if we want to come to a full, complete stop, we are going to want to be able to turn that off. So, we have plenty of fuel. We're not going to need that much fuel in this, so let's go ahead and just kind of reduce that a little bit. And let's limit our thrust because we don't need to be that powerful. We don't even need to have a thrust to weight ratio over 1 for this, so let us go ahead and attempt this contract. So let's make sure Bob is in the seat. Yes, he is. Let's get going. Alright, let us throw on the brakes first, before anything. Let's just start from the stable point. We cannot turn on SAS because we are Bob Kerman, not a pilot. We don't need cabin lights or instrument lights, it's fully daytime out. So let's go ahead and do our runway science first. Brings our temperature scan. Alright, ready to get going. Let's turn our engine on. We hear it start up. Nice and easy. And let's get going. So we've got our throttle all the way up. Our brakes are on just to limit ourselves, but we don't actually need that because we don't need our engines to fully spool up. Alright, let's kill our throttle, kill our engine, and let's just coast. We need to make a right once we get over by the spaceplane hangar, and it's a little bit of a hard right, so we want to make sure we take it easily. The KSC, yeah, I was getting that. I will tell them the KSC spot is right over there between the VAB and the astronaut complex, and our final destination, oh, we passed it too far. Final destination, the admin building, is far away. Let's go ahead and pump the brakes a little bit, calm down our velocity. Thank you. So there's a flat and level, well, I guess flat is level. There's a flat and straight location here that we can use to taxi our way over. We're still going fairly fast. Our brakes are very good though, look at that. Now let's go ahead and turn our engine back on. We'll just give it a little bit of gas. Kill that. And kill the engine. Alright, our next place is the spaceplane hangar, which is right over there. So let's start tapping our feet, as we can see here. Giving it a little bit of right rudder. And we're just going to cruise on by, make sure we're close enough. And action group 2. SPH. Perfect. Now we're hooking the left. We're going a little faster than I would like. Let's make sure our engine is off. Alright, so now this little corner right here, this little diamond-ish area is our KSC location. As we see here, temperature scan from the KSC. So it's this weird little empty patch. That's what they consider KSC on this mission. And lastly, we're going to wind ourselves up at the admin building. That looks funny with the foil flag flapping in the wind. Alright, let's hit the brakes before we end up attacking the KSC. Still have a little momentum. Let's whoa, let's not do that. Gonna time warp our way there, but I guess we'll just be patient. And coming to a complete stop, finishing our last science project. And that is it. We have this mission well under wraps. All we need to do is recover the craft. So that got us 11 science. So let's go ahead and grab that. It also gave us quite a few funds and a little bit of reputation. Let's see what kind of reputation we got here. Not enough to grab what I want, which is this local science. We need 25, We currently have 15. So let's see how we can get our reputation up before we do any more of those experiments, because once we have that program activated, doing science on Kerbal will give us bonus science. And we're going to want that if we're going to try to grind out all that science to get us past the difficult barrier, that initial barrier that unkerbal start gives us. And how we're going to do that is building and flying our first airplane. Let's go ahead and accept that contract. We are also going to accept the contract to do some science, because that requires you to launch a vessel into the air. We didn't take it earlier because even though we were doing science, because we had to launch the vessel, we decided not to take it. And unfortunately, we have this launch your first vessel off the ground as well, because we have multiple contracts available. However, this gives us 3,200, and this one gives us 15,999. So, yeah, we're gonna go with that one. I didn't even see what our buy the first airplane does. Oh, that gives us 10,050 reputation. So this is going to be good for us. Let's go see if we can spend anything. I don't think we're going to, but we'll spend anything we can, and then let's get started on building our first aerial vehicle. Nope, there was nothing I wanted. So start a new craft. We are going to use the Mach 1 inline cockpit, and we are going to use the Warbirds retro version of it. Like I mentioned before, list of all mods are in the description below. Let's go throw a nose cap on there. We're going to also put 2 these fuselages here and give it a little upturned tail right there. Gonna follow that up with, no, not those, 2 mirrored 3 long Mach 0 liquid fuel tanks on the sides, and this is what's going to hold our engines for the whole thing. So I'm going to put the 2 engines there, come back here to aerodynamics and put the small circular intake on there, and that will be enough to power it. Obviously our thrust to weight ratio is very low, but more importantly than that, if I come over here to the delta V stats, we can see that this will have enough fuel to fly for 2 hours and 41 minutes, which is way overkill. We do not need that much. So let's go ahead and empty the fuel out of the center. That brings us down to 44 minutes, which still is going to be way more than we need. However, I'm going to keep it there because we may want to use this particular design in the future, and it'll be good to know that it can fly for a lot longer. So we're going to go ahead and add these basic elevons on to our basic wing. We're going to take the Delta Deluxe winglet and, oops, I don't think I did that right. There we go. Connect it there so it's nice and straight, and then we're going to just bring it back using our move tool, bring it in until it links up ever so nicely with our tail fin. We're just going to take another one of the Deluxe and put it right there. These have their own control surfaces added to them, so it gives us fewer parts that we have to work with, which is nice. Alright, so before we forget, we're going to want to choose which controls these are going to have. So I'm going to have this as both pitch and roll, as well as this one being just pitch. Typically we like to have these as flaps, but it doesn't give us the ability to do that, so we're just going to have them do the pitch as well. These are pitch only, and this is yaw. You know what, I'm going to make this roll only. So only these 2 will deal with pitch, but if we end up not being able to take off from the launch pad, we'll revisit that again. So let's go ahead and get our wheels on. Let's find the center of mass, because we're going to want that close to that. Let's straighten these out. Does that look straight? I don't know that that looks very straight. Alright, let's attach them there and then try to straighten them. Let's get that wheel on. We're gonna raise it so that way it is slightly lower than these ones, and that'll help it take off. Alright, with all that figured out, let's just get some science aboard. Our 3 trusty experiments plus the crew report on the cockpit. Target. There we go. We don't have any parachutes or emergency boarding situation going on here, so we are going to have to take this nice and carefully and keep our pilot alive. So let's go ahead and do our next simulation, and we'll see how the plane fares from there. Okay, let's try a different balance of our fuels. So let's get rid of all the fuel here. So we have no delta V. Let's put the fuel back into here and bring our, how long is our burn time? 58 minutes, okay. So we bring our center of mass back a little bit, which allows us to move our landing gear back a little bit, which gives us, I think, a better fulcrum to lift this thing up. I think that might be where this is going wrong. Also, maybe if I leveled that out. I'm not sure about that. We'll figure this out. I don't have FAR installed, so it will be easier to fly planes than in, say, the RP1 series. Go ahead and name this first plane. Very creative, if I may say so myself. And AG1 equals psi. Nice to have the label in the cockpit. Alright, simulation 2. Alright, so that was a less than successful test flight as well. I can't seem to get off the runway, so we are going to readjust. Whoops. We're going to readjust our plane and make it not so long. So now that changes around our center of lift and center of mass, but the center of lift still seems to be pretty fine. Oops. Double, there we go. It's a much wider stance. I don't think I want it that wide. Let's go ahead and just bring that. You know what, let's just make it attached to that. There we go. Rotate them down. Nice. And so now our newer, smaller plane. Jeb, you good? Jeb's good. Simulation number 3 or 4, depending on how you want to count it. Alright, so that was an all but successful test. Our tail fins are missing for some reason. There we go. They do not need to be set to roll, just pitch. That was weird. That was weird that it changed that. But we do want this to take control of pitch as well. Pitch and roll, just pitch on that. There we go. So I think this is ready to go. It's ready to take its maiden voyage. For some reason we still forgot to put fuel in there. Let's put less fuel in there. Let's have a little bit better. Let's see, how much burn time does it give us? 26 minutes? That is fine. This is our first plane. We'll probably end up upgrading the technology long before we need to fly for a distance longer than 28 minutes. So let's, Jebediah, our intrepid pilot, will be our very first to lift off the ground, to pioneer our space program, and get KSP POV Season 4 started. Well, our plane wants to be a little wheelie-y, so we're gonna have to hold on to the controls as we take off on the runway. Let's go ahead and jump into the cockpit. Those who watched the test flight footage will know that it's a fun cockpit. However, because of the type of landing gear that we currently have, it's going to beep like crazy. This gear unsafe gauge indicator? Gear unsafe indicator will beep like crazy. We have our brakes on, I'm not sure. So for the first beginning part, once I connect this battery, there's not going to be any game audio until I turn on the engines, because only once the engines go does it drown out the sound well enough that it's not as annoying for you guys. And then once we end up getting up to speed, it ends up turning off itself. So let's get started with our flight. We're gonna connect the battery. There's that sound. All right, let's get rid of that. Let's go full throttle. Ignition on. We didn't have our brakes on, but that's okay. This is going to be a little squirrely of a takeoff. It likes to flip. But let's go ahead and try to gain control as quickly as possible. Oh, this is not looking good. Okay. There we go. This is not looking like we have any kind of control. Oh, no, 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 I don't like that. Don't like that at all. Okay, okay, we're good, we're good, we're good. Alright. Maiden voyage. Let's just grab some science. Count our stars that we didn't kill Jeb on our first flight. As I mentioned in the test flight footage of this, once we get out of test flight, once we're in the real deal, we're gonna live with our consequences, and that was not a good flight. Let's bring Jebediah home and let's try again. Well, we got quite a bit of science from that, because that was a new biome over there in the water. We got 37, which is nothing to sneeze at. We got quite a bit of funds from that. Jebediah didn't get any experience, but our reputation is now 73, which means we can now unlock Local Science 1, which means that we get a 20% bonus for all of our science around the KSC. So, yeah, that's going to be extra helpful. We can only take one program at a time because we haven't updated that or upgraded that building, but that'll be okay. We have the ability of upgrading mission control right now, And I think we're going to do it because the contracts that we're going to be taking soon, we'll be able to increase our funds as we do more contracts around the KSC, gathering science around that. So we'll be able to make up that fund. So let's go ahead and do that now. And let's take some contracts. That'll give us some starting capital. So first off, very important, we're going to grab the perform experiments around the KSC. And now we can actually kind of combine this, because now we have a max amount of contracts of 7 we can take. So we can take this, launch our first vessel, because apparently it didn't count. We can take this, fly an airplane to 2,500 meters, because I do want to fly a plane by today's end of episode, and that will include that. Escape the atmosphere is going to take us a second, so we're going to hold off on that. Same with reach for the stars. However, that will give us quite a bit of starting capital, but we already have 4 contracts. I'm going to wait on those. So that gave us a little more money, being able to accept those contracts. Let's deal with some science. And we are first going to put it into survivability, because that last plane flight really got me nervous. So having some parachutes is a huge priority for me right now. And we have enough to get a little bit more. Stability would be nice, because it doesn't give us anything we need right now, but it will unlock the things that will make life easier. However, I think we're going to go into gadgets, because that gives us the mystery goo. And since we're going to be doing a lot of experiments around the KSC right now, the mystery goo will give us the most amount of science per experiment. And so we're going to want to start using that. So let's go ahead and grab that. The next node under that little section is the basic science. Will give us the Science Junior. It'll give us some better batteries, the magnetometer boom, a better camera, the experiment storage. So this is going to be very useful here soon too, as well as an antenna. A lot of good stuff. There's a lot of good stuff in the makes points of Kerbal Start. Like I mentioned before, that it's very difficult. It makes things very hard, and it makes things challenging. That's what it is. It's totally doable, but it challenges you to approach your rockets in a different way. And so hopefully I can kind of give you an idea of the way that has worked for me in this. So it still didn't count that as launching a vessel into the air. So we're still going to need to do that. Launch our vessel here and fly an airplane, as long as it has an air-breathing engine, no solid rocket fuel, or any oxidizer, which is our plane currently can handle that. We just need to get better at getting it off the runway. Okay, so now that we have a new science experiment, let's just go ahead and tack that on there as well and add that to the action group. Oh, it didn't scan the target last time. Interesting. So we still need to scan the target of the water. Okay. I think these wheels might be too wide. Let's see. Okay, I'm thinking maybe our wing design might be bad. Apologies to those who heard that in the test flight. But yeah, I think maybe we go even simpler. More rudimentary. Because this is just a basic plane. So let's try that. It looks ridiculous, but we'll see. Wow, I cannot even... Thank you, Elevon, for disappearing. I cannot even tell you how good that one was, except I will just go ahead and show you right now. Let's go ahead and get Jebediah in the cockpit and launch this. Oh, that's right. Parachutes. We're going to throw some parachutes on here just in case. We're going to basically be our drogue chute if we need it upon landing. I think we're good. It is time to do this for real. And once again, this is for all the biscuits. We can't let Jebediah die. Not on the first day. Let's do this. Alright, here we are on the runway. Nice and pleasant day out. Get our craft turned on. Our brakes on. Like I mentioned before, that sound awful. So until we get the engine on, there won't be any of these sounds. And let's kill our brakes. Oh yeah, full throttle. That would help. Alright, Jebediah. It's time for real. I cannot wait till we can unlock retractable landing gear, because then that warning will never happen again, because it's only because we have fixed gear, and it doesn't like fixed gear at too slow of a space. But look at that, we are in the air, everybody. We have launched our first vessel. We've done some science, launched our first vessel. Now we just need to get to 2,500 meters. We'll be able to tell that from here. Let's go ahead and close that. Let's start angling ourselves towards the island runway. We're not going to land there, but we do want to do a U-turn of sorts. So we're going to just start angling our way that way. And lifting ourselves up to an appropriate altitude. I'd say it's a good time to do some science. Go ahead and click that on. Got 5 experiments ran, Maestro, 7 science, excellent. Crew report 3.5. Temperature scan 5.6. Atmospheric pressure 8.4. And target scan 5.6. That is good stuff. Okay, how's our altitude? Okay, it seems like we're above 2,000. Yep, there we are. Gears are unsafe again for some reason, but hopefully that wasn't too loud. Alright, so let's go ahead and... Oh, I did forget to put... I did forget to put the kill engine on the appropriate action group. So, we will not have that feature upon landing. Doing an IVA only mode really forces you to have to consider a lot of different things, a lot of problems that may arise, a lot of ways that you're going to have to get around things that you can do in a third-person view. Because, like, I could just right-click on my engines, select the engine, and hit, shut down engine from third person with no problem. But since I did not set up the action group for it, not do such a thing. So we're going to try to do this. We're going to try to land without using our parachutes. Hopefully we can come to a stop well enough, but we shall see. I'm currently doing this with my mouse and keyboard. However, I may eventually switch over to my joystick, depending. I do feel like we'll probably end up doing a lot of flights since we have good cockpit IVAs. Alright, let's go ahead and kill our thrust. Get ourselves into not the best dive bomb position, but we'll see. Alright. No! the ignition button activated my parachutes. Well, that was no good. Can I cut my chutes? Why does it look like I'm floating? Oh, because it's straight up and down. Alright, let's just time warp our way. Whew. Alright, well. So apparently we've got full reaction wheel control. Can we light up our engines and go even more? No, I don't think so. How do we do anyways? That, you know, I don't think we're gonna get any science out of this, but at least he didn't die. And we solved all of our contracts, so we are now in a position to start moving forward. Let's go back to the KSC and see what we can get out of this. Well, we got a little bit of science, and that gave us 20 points, which is going to be good. I have a lot of little pieces to clear up. There we go. Let's spend some science real fast. Ooh, okay, so we do not have enough science for the basic science node. However, you know, we could unlock basic rocketry and then go over to general rocketry, get better boosters and stuff. I'm not going to be making a rocket just yet. Probably not in this episode. Well, definitely not in this episode. Possibly not in the next episode. We may start with planes, get our science up, get the Science Junior is going to be huge for us. But see, it also gives us booster cams, which is in an IVA mode with unmanned or uncrewed vessels. We're going to need good cameras. And the camera that we have, that we start off with, is just terrible. So this is going to be our next goal. And that's going to be achievable through our perform experiments around the KSC. And what we're going to do is we're just going to grind these over and over again. As you see, we now have access to a bunch of different new experiment or missions. Test small hard point at the launch pad. Let's go ahead and grab this. Testing contracts are always great. But we're not going to grab anything else for now. Because we are just going to focus on that experiments around the KSC. I will be doing a lot of that kind of off camera. It will be included in the members only footage as test flight footage, even though it will be the real mission. But we're just going to grind out some science, some contracts, and if we can get enough, where are you? If we can get enough reputation. Yeah, we need 275. Oh, and level 2. Okay. Well, if we can start getting a better program for local science, that'll be even better, because it'll be 50% bonus to KSC and 25% bonus to Kerbin, which we don't have Kerbin. We only have the KSC. So that will be a goal, and that will probably be what we end up doing off camera. There's going to be some stuff that I'm just going to kind of focus on and not necessarily make part of an episode. Sometimes if I need to get communication satellites up there, I may not. However, I will be including a lot of the footage from this series as well as the rest of my other Kerbal series in the members only section of our channel. So check that out if that is something you're interested in. But anyways, that is where I'm going to leave today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're looking forward for more KSP POV. If you did, please consider giving me a like, drop me a comment, let me know your thoughts, and I will see y'all in the next one. Take care.